Hey guys, welcome to another video on Balloon Hair Productions. I'm your host, as usual. My name is Marcelo Nostroza, and I'd like to welcome you to my video for my Oscar predictions of 2026. But if you guys have been here, if you guys have been here before, you know that I did an Oscar prediction video for last year's Oscars, and for that video, I was not alone. I had a special guest with me for that video. So just like last year, I would like to welcome back to my channel my good friend Matt Crandall. Hey Matt,
Hello.
how excited are you for the Oscars this year?
I am excited. I do think that this has been one of the most drawn out Oscar campaign seasons where we've seen so many ups and downs because with the ceremony being March 15th, it feels so late. And I just wish, sometimes it's like March 6th or whatever. I want I want the Academy, especially when they go to YouTube, let's do these week after the Super Bowl. Like, February, I think right after the Super Bowl, because then you got Grammys, Super Bowl, Oscars, and then let's call it a day. Because it's just, man, it feels like we've been talking about these movies for a million years.
Yeah, you know what? I'm really happy you said that because I really feel that as well. Like the build up and the road to these Oscars have like taken forever. And
Yeah.
it's like I'm like but the thing is I can't bring to my mind what possessed the Oscars to do it this late in the year unless they had like a logistical problem.
I think they were just giving a lot of runway to the other award shows and they, just picked a date that it turns out was so far out. And it's just funny, they've gone back to like this March date for a while, but because it's always so tied with when COVID happened, but we're at like the 6 year anniversary of COVID literally today. Um, and it's crazy to think that back then, like Parasite had won all the awards like 2 weeks before that because it was at the end of February. And I just think, man, I wish they could go back to that February Oscars because it was so great that we had that and could enjoy it before the world fell apart. And we're just kind of, it's weird that we're doing this like right on the anniversary of all of that.
Yeah, no, until you said it, I had no idea that it was the anniversary when the world ended, but good on you for remembering that.
Yeah, it was because I really like the band 311, and 311 Day is the day that the world ended up shutting down for the pandemic, and today's March 11th. So it's like, oh, okay, this is the always the anniversary of when all that happened. But back when that happened, Parasite had already won all the awards at the end of February, and it was one of the last Oscars that felt totally normal and fun, and all the ones since last year was not bad. Couple of years ago, obviously we had like the Will Smith slap and stuff. So I'm hoping that this year's Oscars will be enjoyable, but certainly not controversial. And we're gonna go through some of the categories here, but it's been really weird to watch the trajectory of the front runners, and certain front runners have like completely fallen away and been overtaken by other people. And knowing that the Oscar voting only happened last week after the actor awards, there was like a 4 day window where the awards actually happened. And I think if you had asked us a month ago or month and a half ago who was going to win a lot of these awards, it might actually be different than who we think is going to win now.
Yeah, I was really surprised because at the start of the Oscar season, seems like decades ago, I thought Leo had a really solid shot at lead actor for One Battle After Another, but he has fallen off the map. Like he has
Yeah.
nothing going into it. So it'll be interesting to see how it all works out here. But you said it. Why don't you get us going? What are we going to talk about first?
Well, let's start maybe with some of the intro categories. We won't do the heavy hitters right off the bat. Let's save a few of those. But I know one of the things that you really like and I really like is a good, powerful score, to a movie that can take you someplace. And of course, scores are great for people like us who like to write scripts because you can sometimes listen to your favorite score and it can put you in the mood while you're writing. Um, but this year, the nominees for Best Original Score are Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Sinners. Marcelo, who do you got?
It's really tough for me this year because I absolutely adore the score for One Battle After Another. That score is genius, guys. It's one damn note going over and I mean, it's absolute genius. But I really love the score for Hamnet done by Max Richter. Max Richter is he's a longtime composer. He did the main score for The Leftovers. I absolutely love that score in particular. So my vote will go to Max Richter for Hamnet. I adore that score.
Yeah, I think it's tough for me because I think the Hamnet score is very good. And I do love Max Richter's work, as you've mentioned. Um, some of his TV stuff is amazing. Now, the only thing that hesitates for me is that the big music cue in Hamnet
Yep.
at the key moment is actually not an original piece of music. It's a Max Richter piece from previous that's been in other movies. Okay. And so it's tough because it's such a great moment, but that's the only part of the score that is not new and not original. And that's like the moment that ties the whole movie together. And for me, the One Battle After Another score is interesting, but it really gets on my nerves at certain points in the movie. And it is supposed to unnerve you, but like in a way that I don't particularly love. That said, even though this guy, young guy, he has already won 2 Oscars previous, I got to go with Ludwig Göransson for Sinners because the way that he worked in like the bluegrass and the blues and all of the music that is so important to the story of Sinners into the score. And even like the Irish folk dancing stuff when the vampires come out. I just thought the score for Sinners is so good. And like this dude has been on like a legendary heater. It seems like he came out of nowhere with doing the music for The Mandalorian and Black Panther. And like ever since then, literally every Ludwig Göransson score is a banger. And like I said, this might be the guy's 3rd Oscar, which is wild. But Sinners, I'm not going to predict it for everything, but like the momentum for Sinners has just been on the up, and literally that wave is cresting right at the right moment. And the music is so integral to it that because that Hamnet score features that thing, I think people are going to hold that against it. And I'm going with Sinners.
Yeah, just one more quick word on the Hamnet score. I thought it was really, really jarring. Like you mentioned it, I thought it was really jarring that he would put a piece of his original music or a piece that he used before in such a critical moment. I'm really surprised that he didn't compose an original piece of music for that lovely moment at the end of the film. I was like, "What are you doing?"
So he wanted to, but Chloe Zhao
Oh,
had used that as a temp piece of music, and she was. And this is the danger of temp scores when you're making a movie and you use a temp score. She fell in love with it so much. He was like, "I'll write something else." She was like, "You can't. Like nothing
oh,
else is gonna do this. We have to use it." And because it was the same composer, she's like it's your music. So like you still did the whole movie, but that was like something from the inception of the movie that she heard that song and could not let it go. Which, it does work. There are people who are so into movies like you and me who it pulls them out because they recognize On the Nature of Daylight and they're just like, what the heck is happening here? But
yeah.
it really does. It's a good song to cry to, so it comes in at the right point.
Oh, yeah. The lesson you learn, folks. Don't edit your movies with temp scores.
Well, and if you do, only do it if you can actually divorce yourself from the thing, which is the danger, right? Sometimes you fall in love with a piece and nothing anybody comes up with hits as good. So that
Right,
is what
right.
happened with Chloe, and she was the first to admit it. She has been
Oh,
talking about
okay.
it, so it's good.
What do we got next?
Well, now we'll stay below the line still, and let's go to visual effects, where the nominees are Avatar, Fire and Ash, F1, Jurassic World Rebirth, The Lost Bus, and Sinners. Now, this is a case of I don't think the Sinners wave is going to crest on the visual effects because, as much as I am a ride or die for that movie, I don't think the effects are the strongest part. Avatar obviously probably has this in the bag, especially because this is basically its only nomination. So I think clearly it is head and shoulders above the rest. The only thing that comes close is Jurassic World Rebirth, that like 90% of the effects for me like were really solid. It's just that the movie's not any good, right? Like the movie's got 40 minutes that are fun and good, and if the voters only watched those fun and good 40 minutes and forgot the other hour and 55, then maybe, but I think Avatar has probably got this locked. Even F1 is more of a case of invisible visual effects where they, have made it feel seamless, but it's not showy. Um, so I don't know that that's necessarily going to win. And it may just be because I watched The Lost Bus on Apple TV rather than in a theater. I thought obviously the fire stuff was impressive, but there were times where it felt green screeny to me. Um, so that wouldn't be my choice off the top.
Yeah, for me, listen, with the last Jurassic World movie, I can't I can't remember that movie at all, except for the fact that I didn't like it at all. Um, so with that out of the way, my choice for best visual effects for this year would have to be Avatar: Fire and Ash, because to me there was nothing visually that I've seen so far this year that took me away to a different planet. Specifically, there's this one moment in the film early on when when you see basically like traders in flying boats. It's the most majestic, beautiful thing I've ever seen, and nobody does special effects like James Cameron and his crew. So I can't go against Avatar: Fire and Ash for this year. I just can't.
Yeah, and I think it would be unwise to go against Fire and Ash at this point, just because it does feel probably like the shoe in for that category.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, let's head over to writing, as screenwriting dudes. Uh, we'll start with adapted screenplay. The nominees are Begonia, Frankenstein, Hamnet, One Battle After Another, and Train Dreams. What are you thinking in this category, Marcelo?
I am torn. I'm torn because I love Hamnet, but I also love One Battle. But I think I'm going to operate from recency bias a little bit. I think I'm going to go with Hamnet for this category because the the screenplay for Hamnet is very unassuming. The movie starts off like a typical family drama, and then towards the second act, it switches to an awful beautiful nightmare. And that to me was extremely affecting. It ripped out my soul. It got me to cry in the right places. It got me to think about my life in the right places, and it gave me an emotional catharsis throughout the course of the film. And although I love One Battle, I didn't feel that emotionally connected to the characters in One Battle as I felt emotionally connected to the characters in Hamnet.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I think, Hamnet is very meticulous in crafting those characters, and it does so in a very economical way where it's not a ton of dialogue or exposition. Like it really just kind of plops you into the world. Um, I am going to go with One Battle, though, only because the characters and some of the story I might have some issues with. but what time is it? I don't know, motherfucker. Like, you do not know. Just the dialogue in the Leo on the phone scenes, uh, hands down, 100% best dialogue of the year for me. So, like, Leo is so funny in this movie because of the words that he was given. Obviously, his manic performance really sells it, but like when when he is just so frustrated with that dude who will not relent on asking for the password and telling him that he should have studied his manual more, like those are the highest highs in terms of like written word for me this year. So like I got to give it to Paul Thomas Anderson, and it's mostly for his dialogue. I
Yeah.
just love, like you got to be brave, you got to be fearless like Tom Cruise, like that kind of stuff. Is why that gets my vote for sure. And I will
Yeah.
say, the most surprising, I think, I didn't read the book, but I really did appreciate how sparse Train Dreams script was. And then the movie that I didn't expect to really love, but I ended up really loving it, is Will Tracy's script for Begonia, which could have gone in so many like off-putting ways, but they just found like a really good balance. So like these are great nominees. I think anybody who wins it will be worthy. Um, but for me, it's Paul Thomas.
Yeah, just a really quick word on Begonia. Begonia really took me off. It caught me off of balance because the film starts and I'm like, "Fuck, I hate this movie," and then it keeps going. I'm like, "I kind of dig this movie," and then it keeps going. And I'm like, "I love where this movie ended up." It's very unassuming, and I think that's its charm.
Yeah, and it does do that trick where like a lot of it is really off-putting, but then somehow like it draws you in anyway because some of the characters are despicable, and
Yeah,
but then like where it ends up, like I thought it was actually really well crafted.
yeah, it was extremely well crafted.
Now the flip side, we'll do original screenplay, which is Marty Supreme, Blue Moon, It Was Just an Accident, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Now for this, I'm gonna say, like I think this is where they're gonna definitely give Kugler an award for Sinners, um, because the script makes some bold choices, and if the other categories don't go his way, like this one is the shoe in. But that being said, my second favorite is Sentimental Value, um, which is, again, like it's a family drama. It's not like a showy script, but it's just really well constructed. And those characters do go on like a journey, and I really care. But Sinners was, you know, Marcelo knows this. When I walked out of the theater, I was like, oh my God, 5 out of 5 masterpiece. Give it everything. Now that we're a few months later, I'm not saying give it everything, but screenplay, heck yeah.
For me, I really surprisingly connected with Blue Moon. I felt such a kinship with the character played by Handsome Hawk throughout the course of the film that it was absolutely phenomenal. His performance in that movie, which, guys, if you haven't seen that movie, it's essentially a one act play in a bar. His
Yeah,
performance in
it
that
is.
movie is so charming, so uncomfortable, and so sad. Like I really think that Richard Linklater hit it out of the park with that script, and in particular, Ethan Hawke's inflection as he goes to the script and as he goes to his character journey is so affecting and it's so sad. So for that reason, among others, my choice goes to Blue Moon.
I definitely can't argue with that. I do think it's very well written, and my only dings against it are the Margaret Qualley extended scene in the coat room that I'm just like, cut this out, get this out of this movie, and the fact that they have those weird Stuart Little. Stuart Little got written because Hart had this conversation with E.B. White. I was like, wait, what?
So
So those are
stupid.
the only things that I'm just like, I certainly won't be upset if that pulls off a win because it is a very well done script. But for me, that one's going to Sinners.
Yeah.
All right, now let's take a look at actress in a supporting role. We've got Elle Fanning for Sentimental Value, Inga Ibsdottir Ilias for Sentimental Value, Amy Madigan in Weapons, Wunmi Musaku for Sinners, and Teyana Taylor in One Battle After Another.
Ooh. You know what? Um, I before jumping on the show, I really was going to give it to my girl Ella Fanning because I like Ella Fanning. But I have to give it to Tiana Taylor for One Blow After Another because I mean, she plays such a emotional role, and the second I meet her, I'm like, oh, I'm on your side. She just brought me into the movie that much more, and I was really affected by her performance. And not too many actors can draw you in the way that she drew me into the movie.
Yeah, I think that's the way a lot of people definitely feel about that performance. Um, Even if you don't love the character, it's still captivating. For me, I would say I'm of two minds. I really loved Inga Ibsdottir Lilius in Sentimental Value, who has like kind of not the big showy part, but like just a very strong supporting part. I do think her and Elle Fanning are going to split the vote because they're from the same movie. Um, and then I think, you know, Wunmi Masaku from Sinners, the momentum for Sinners, like I said, when the voting window opened, the Sinners momentum was like at its peak. So I do think she has a legit shot. But the minute that Aunt Gladys came on the screen in Weapons, I was like, what the fuck is this performance?
She
What
was so
is
weird.
this? What is this in this horror movie? And it was like a horror icon was born the minute she stepped into that school. And Amy Madigan's performance throughout the last part of that movie is so good because she's awkward and weird when she's given the big dialogue moments. Then she's creepy and menacing in like the last half hour. But then, spoiler alert for Weapons, then she's hilarious as she's running away from the kids before she is murdered. And I just think like that balancing act, yes, 90% of that comes from the wig and the glasses. But when she takes that off, that character is still creepy and powerful. And I think this is a person that, like, Amy Madigan, Kevin Costner's wife in Field of Dreams. Like, people are going to be like, I've grown up watching this actress and she is great and she's never won. And let's be realistic, probably will not have an opportunity to be nominated again. So I think they're going to jump on that. And like I said, the minute she showed up in Weapons, a horror icon was born. You cannot go to a horror convention ever again without seeing at least a handful of Aunt Gladys's walking around. And that's awesome. And I think this is a performance like Heath Ledger as the Joker that is, the kind that the Academy likes to reward for, popcorn, blockbuster, horror, or thrillers. So I do think that, this villain is going to get her the award.
Do you just real quick?
Unless that Sinners wave takes over. Unless it's just all Sinners all night. I think it's
I
gonna be Amy Madigan.
You know what? I look. I acknowledge that Sinners is on a roll and Sinners has peaked. I'm with you on that one, but I don't. But I don't think Sinners is gonna run away with it because I think that there's too much good here just to give it to one solitary film. I mean, I might
That's
be
what I
wrong,
hope. I hope you're
but
right.
yeah, but just real quickly, because you mentioned how iconic Gladys is as a character, do you think that they're gonna do another film just surrounded around her?
So she has said that Zach Krager has told her like he was developing a prequel or like a Gladys spin-off of some kind. Now, we don't know if that will be all Amy Madigan or like two people playing the role. But also, because Weapons is a Warner Brothers movie, we also don't know if that's ever going to happen, because
Oh, oh yeah, that's right.
because he's writing that with the intent, but by the time they would be ready to actually green light anything and the script is done, it could be it's going to be probably a very different landscape over at that studio. So who knows what they're going to want to do? And Weapons, while it was a hit, it's a modest hit, right? It's not a Transformers. It made, 300 and something million worldwide off of a lower budget, but who knows? I would be all for it as long as it doesn't demystify Gladys to decrease how frightening and weird she is in Weapons. But I trust
Mhm.
Zach Kreger. That
Mhm.
guy, right now, he's only done the two movies in the horror genre, but right now he's like one of the top guys. So until he proves otherwise, I trust him.
Mhm. Mhm.
So now let's jump over to actor in a supporting role, where we've got Benicio del Toro for One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi for Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo for Sinners, Sean Penn in One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård in Sentimental Value. Now, the weird thing about this is that the precursors have actually gone to like all different people. So this is a totally wide open field, because Stellan has won some, Penn has won some, Lindo has won some, and Elordi has won some. Now, Benicio del Toro has won so many critics prizes that for like a long time it really just felt like it was his award. Ask anybody who's seen One Battle After Another, and 80% of them are going to say their favorite character was Sensei, right? So there's like a lot of people who just love that guy. The other 20% are probably going to say that Lockjaw, the weirdo that Sean Penn plays, is one of their favorite characters. But again, they might split the vote. Um, so this is one where for a long time I thought Stellan Skarsgård actually had it in the bag, and he's so good in Sentimental Value, and I mostly just want him to win it because I loved him on Andor, right? Like he was so awesome on Andor. I'm like, give it to Stellan. But the other guy who has just been great for decades is Delroy Lindo, who in Sinners, as the alcoholic blues man, does get like some good stuff, a nice monologue, but his body of work, a few years ago he was in Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods, which was an okay movie, but he was incredible and he got snubbed by the Academy. And so now they're like, "Oh yeah, we like this guy." And he's in so much stuff. Like so many crime movies have Delroy Lindo show up for 10 minutes. So many great stuff, and he's been on TV and The Good Fight. And so like he would be a winner that it would be mostly like a career award. He is good in Sinners, but like I'm rooting for Delroy. But if it's not him, then I guess Benicio is my other pick. But for a long time, I thought Stellan had it, and it just sort of fell away.
This is probably going to surprise you, Matt, because you know that I did not like this movie as much as you did. But I'm going to go with Delroy Lindo for Sinners. I can't believe I'm saying that. Uh, no, 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 no. In all serious, guys, although I don't like the movie, although I'm not a big fan of the movie, as so many other people are, Delroy Lindo's performance in this film is absolutely magical. He brings an energy and he brings so much joy to the alcoholic piano player that every moment that that guy's on screen, he just has my attention.
Yeah.
And like Matt mentioned, he is a wonderful character actor. He's been in a million things. If I'm not mistaken, a couple years ago, he was in this movie called Sing Sing, I believe. I think that was him, wasn't it? I think. Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I I would have given him an Oscar for that movie. That he was great in that movie. But yeah, my choice for this category is the legend himself, Delroy Lindo.
Yeah, I think I think like people just like him, and he's been in so much stuff. He's worked with Spike Lee a bunch of times, but even like in the 90s the guy was just doing a lot of cool stuff. One of my basically one of my personal favorite movies is Get Shorty. Like I love everything about Get Shorty, and Delroy Lindo is awesome in Get Shorty. So I'm like, yeah, he deserved an Oscar back in 1995 for co-starring in Get Shorty. So like, let's give it to him. Let's just do this.
Yeah.
Um, all right, now let's jump over. Let's do a slight detour, and we'll go to directing, where our nominees are Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, Josh Safdie for Marty Supreme, Paul Thomas Anderson for One Battle After Another, Joachim Trier for Sentimental Value, and Ryan Coogler for Sinners. I was gonna say, I know who you're not gonna go with.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And
Who do you got?
basically, for me, I like it's down to the wire. I really think this should be Paul Thomas Anderson's year. He has been one of my favorites since I saw Boogie Nights. Me and my friends went and snuck in to see it, and I was just like, "This is amazing." It didn't hurt that it was like 90% ripped off from Scorsese because but since then he's grown so much, and every movie, even the ones I don't like, you know, are unique visions and well directed, and this one is kind of like him doing his greatest hits. So I feel like he's got it, and if he doesn't get the award, I will only be happy if it's Coogler, because from day one I have been a Coogler stan. Where I saw Fruitvale Station, and when I saw that, it was already announced that he was doing Creed, and so I was like, "Who is this guy?" And I watched Fruitvale, and I'm like, "Yeah, this is really well done." And then I saw Creed opening day and was absolutely floored. I was like, "This movie is everything I wanted in like a Rocky movie," and they brought it to a new generation. And then he does Black Panther, and I'm like, "What can't this guy do?" Right? Like that first Black Panther is just really, really well directed. Everything worked. One of the, I know some people don't love it, but for me, it's like one of the top five Marvel movies. And then, Black Panther Wakanda Forever is not his fault. It was a bad
Nope.
circumstance. But then, like I said, when I walked out of Sinners, I was just absolutely floored, because you watch it, and when that musical sequence hits, and it is such a wild swing where, like, as this dude is singing his song, and we're seeing Sammy and everybody going, and then we got people who are twerking and crumping and breakdancing and like Cool and the Gang, Funkadelic, and I was like, what is happening? In the hands of a lesser director, that would have killed the movie immediately, and in the hands of Ryan Coogler, that elevated the movie from like a popcorn Hollywood entertainment to like an all-timer. And so my heart wants Paul Thomas Anderson, but if it ain't gonna be Paul, then I want it to be Ryan.
Yeah, I'm really, really torn with this category because I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I really do. I've really learned to appreciate him as a storyteller over the past couple of years. But there's one movie that I saw that really just took me, and it took me on an emotional journey in ways that I wasn't expecting it to. Although that was a word on the street that you were just going to be absolute wreck when you saw this movie. So my pick for best achievement in directing goes to Chloe Zhao for Hamnet, because she was able to bring a sense of emotion and a sense of loss to her characters that Paul Thomas Anderson, and I know he's your guy, Ryan Coogler, just didn't do for me. Look, those films are great. Those films are great. I'm not disputing that. Don't come after me, people. But the emotions that I felt while I was watching Hamnet were nowhere near the emotions that I felt for Sinners or One Battle.
And I'm just gonna say it because it has to be said, even though it's not fair. Because Chloe Zhao won 5 years ago,
She's not going to win again.
she's not gonna win. like it's just one of those things where like this is a better movie than Nomadland. this is better direction than Nomadland. But she just won. She won 5 years ago. So it's
Yeah.
like we very rarely, there are times where like actors repeat 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
But directing is not one of the ones that they like to give multiple times to the same person. Certainly not where like it feels like it just happened. Um, but who knows? Again, I'm never going to discount a movie that is this emotionally powerful and that is also produced by Steven Spielberg, right? So
Yeah.
like you got to just know that some of those Academy members voting take that stuff into consideration. And this was the most Chloe Zhao movie. Like all of her strengths are on display in a way that feels like she has grown and learned from all of her previous films, even the flops like Eternals, and has absorbed that and taken it and been able to use it, which is actually the sign of a great director if they're able to grow and learn from their failures rather than, just keep their head down and keep doing what they were doing.
Yeah, after watching Hamnet, and I previously saw I previously saw her film that she won the Oscar for. If you What film is that? It's
Nomadland.
yes, Nomadland. Nomadland was great. I saw it. It was great. It was wonderful. But after seeing Hamnet, I really, really, really want her. If this is true, I really, really want her to step into the director's chair for the next Mission movie, if that happens.
Yeah, those rumors were wild, but I also like that would be a nice change of pace that would make sense, especially now that we know McHugh is trying to do King Conan with Schwarzenegger. So like he's going off into Crom territory. So that'll be interesting to see. Um, and I just want to shout out like the reason I don't think it's going to be Joachim Trier is because his last movie, Worst Person in the World, was just a much stronger movie than this one. Um, and obviously, there has been some like last minute smear campaign going on against Josh Safdie, which definitely helped take a hit of Marty Supreme. I do think that that was some very assured and managing the chaos kind of directing, but everybody else is just literally working at the top of their game that I don't think it's going to be Marty Supreme.
Yeah, if Marty Supreme takes anything away, I think it's going to take away a leading actor because look, the direction of Marty Supreme was great, but I wasn't blown away by it in the same way that I was with Hamnet.
And speaking of, let's do actor in a leading role so we can dissect this a little bit more. Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio in One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke in Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan for Sinners, and Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent.
Well, again, you might think that this is a shoe-in for me, but it isn't. I absolutely loved Handsome Hawk in Blue Moon so much so that I was this close. I was this close, Matt, being come on, give it to Handsome Hawk. But I cannot in good conscience do that because although I wasn't over the moon with the movie, Timothy Chalamet's performance in Marty Supreme is absolutely phenomenal. That guy made me feel sympathetic for a dirtbag throughout the movie. His work, his cockiness, his rubato, everything is on display here. So if anybody else Chalamet takes it, I will be surprised.
And if the Oscars had been in February, I think Chalamet had it in the bag, and he has fumbled the bag so much that like when Michael B. Jordan won at the Actor Awards, it really was the turning of the tides. It became Chalamet has given a lot of interviews where he came off as cocky, too young, disrespectful. Um, all these things that when you watch the movie, it's like he's still in character as Marty Mauser because that is like he's saying Marty Mauser shit in the interviews, right? And I loved Chalamet and I loved Marty Supreme. So like, Paul Atreides, obviously one of my favorites, but like he was just next level in Marty Supreme. Thought he was great. I love the chaotic energy of the movie and that he is a despicable piece of crap. And by the end, we aren't sure if he's learned anything. Obviously, he has to grow up in those final moments, and it's such a powerful image, but we don't know if that's actually going to happen. And that's kind of part of the ambiguity of the movie, where like we don't know if he's going to have this cry and realize that he has to grow up and has to stop doing this, or is he going to be abandoning this baby 4 days from now, right? So I like that ambiguity, and I think Chalamet really nails the unlikable but yet charismatic, like a charismatic douchebag. And you're like, okay. Now that being said, Michael B, who since the days of The Wire and Friday Night Lights has been one of my guys, right? So like whenever Michael B's in a movie, I check it out. Whenever he's on a show, I get excited. As I said on here, when I walked out of Creed, I was like, oh my God, like this guy is a movie star now. He's got it. And the fact that he is playing twins that are distinct. When it's smoke on screen, you can tell. When it's Stack, you can tell. And that sometimes people do that by like going too over the top. And I feel like he does just enough. Like he's almost crossing the line a couple of times, but not quite. And again, we're at this part where like the Sinner's wave is cresting. So I think it's going to be Michael B. Jordan. I will be happy if it is Chalamet. And even if it's Leo, like I said, just, man, when he is trying to find an outlet to charge his phone and when he is on the phone in this movie, it is so good. It is like peak. And I do love Ethan Hawke. And, he's playing a small guy. He's got the hairline. He's got all this stuff that they usually love. An actor doing a physical transformation. It's a very talky part, and he makes it work. And you feel the sadness just oozing off the screen. So any of those guys, I won't be upset. I just saw The Secret Agent, and I do like Wagner Moura in general. I'm a little head scratching on how much praise this performance has got because I did not find it to be anything special. If you have any watchers from Brazil, they're gonna roast me, but I just thought it was like fine. It was fine, okay, and if he wins, all right, but it's my least favorite of the five.
Yeah, I mean, look, I just a quick word on The Secret Agent, so you're not alone. I also recently watched that movie. I'm like, really? This movie you guys are going crazy about? This movie is in the it was just okay. But the other thing that I would like to say is that I feel if Leo wins will be it'll be an upset. But the other thing that I want to say about Leo's performance, I liked Leo's performance in this movie much more than his performance that he got when he won his first Oscar for The Revenant.
Yeah.
Because this is much more. It's much more well rounded than his character in The Revenant, and than The Revenant for the Remnant.
The weirdest thing, and they're having 10-year anniversary screenings of The Revenant, all over theaters last week, next week, this week.
Right.
I like The Revenant, but that is in the last 15 years, maybe like the most okay Leo performance compared to Wolf of Wall Street, where he's just friggin' amazing, like from frame one.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where again,
he's great.
He's just incredible from frame one. And then we got this movie, and even a movie like Don't Look Up that I don't love, but Leo is like awesome in it, right? So like this movie is him at the height of his powers doing a great performance that is much more Oscar worthy than The Revenant was, where, he just got mauled by a bear and looked cold a lot of the time. But it was just, we felt like it was time and we weren't sure how many more opportunities they were going to have for Leo. And this just shows like we gave it to him too late and too early all at the same time because he made so many great movies before, and he's just been on a heater with like nothing but great movies. Don't Look Up, being the like one, yeah, but everything else like DiCaprio's been doing lately has just been top notch.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. The performance that he did in One Battle was actually a performance. Like in The Revenant, he was just okay. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was looking for
Yeah.
that. So yeah, I look. I wouldn't be mad if he won, but I think that he's lost a lot of steam. His momentum is kind of died.
Well, and it's partly because Leo didn't campaign very much for this. Partly because he feels like he's got one and he's willing to let these other guys who have never won it kind of rise up. And I do think like if he had really pounded the pavement and done all the work that Chalamet was doing, then he would be like the front runner, but he just wasn't interested in doing that. And kudos to him because he feels like he's got the Oscar and he's letting the work speak for itself. That's great. And it is even notable that like the year of Killers of the Flower Moon, he did a lot of campaign boots on the ground, but it was for Lily Gladstone, not for himself. And so
Right.
that, like, I really got a lot of respect for that dude out of that situation. And then to see him just continue, these great performances and not worry too much about the awards is great.
Mhm.
Now let's jump over to actress in a leading role. And this is we can go through all of these, but this is one where literally every single precursor
Yeah. It's
has
gonna
been won by the same person. Not a single one has fallen by the wayside for Jessie Buckley in Hamnet. Rose Byrne, If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. Kate Hudson, Song Sung Blue. Renata Reinsve, Sentimental Value. And Emma Stone in Begonia. If you are placing a bet, like, you won't win any money if you bet Jessie Buckley because this is like the category that is done. This is the category that has been done since the season started. There's not everybody else. The kudos is just the nomination because they're not going to win, right? And Emma Stone, I thought she was fantastic in Begonia, but at this point, especially when she just won a second Oscar for Poor Things in an upset over Lily Gladstone from Killers of the Flower Moon. It's too soon. The movie is not different enough, and it really felt kind of like a perfunctory, lazy, like let's just nominate this actress we like. Um, so I was really surprised she got in there. But like she is a likable actress, and she's been producing a lot of movies lately, and she's like really well liked and doing a lot of good in Hollywood. Renata Reinsve in Sentimental Value, good, but her sister in the movie steals the movie out from under her. And her last movie with Joachim Trier, Worst Person in the World, was the breakthrough, and that was the performance that people liked way more. Rose Byrne is incredible in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, but that movie is so off-putting and uncomfortable and surreal in a what the fuck am I watching kind of way that I think there are going to be a lot of Academy voters who can't hang with it. Which is a shame because she is amazing, and I have loved Rose Byrne since she popped up on TV in Damages like 20 years ago, and I've met her. She's super nice. She's every time she's in something, she is one of the best parts. She can do comedy like Bridesmaids. She can do drama like this. Um, Kate Hudson in Song Sung Blue. Again, the nomination is the recognition. And I just got to say that Song Sung Blue is a movie that on paper is corny as hell.
It's
And
so good.
and if you took all of the twists and turns and wrote them down, you would say this is the most melodramatic soap opera shit I have ever heard of. And then when you find out it is based on a true story, and if you watch the documentary from 10 or 12 years ago, Song Sung Blue, it is all true. This is what happened to these people. And then you just see like Hudson does such good work, and the songs soar, and even when there's tragedy in this movie, it's just so good that like I love that movie. Song Sung Blue was one of like those movies that people just kind of dismissed because of the Neil Diamond thing, but like if you were willing to give it a shot, it is so well done and so good. And obviously I love Kate Hudson since Almost Famous, so to see her back in a role that's actually worthy of her talent, like I got to applaud that. And shout out to my Hustle and Flow dude, Craig Brewer, who wrote and directed the movie. Another guy that's been one of my guys since I saw Hustle and Flow 20 years ago. But as I said off the top, Jessie Buckley has been unstoppable. And when I was at TIFF and we were seeing Hamnet after it had already premiered, I think it was at Venice, right? And then it went to Telluride and then TIFF. So word on the street was already that Hamnet was going to rip your heart out. And as I sat there and, you know, luckily I'm very privileged that I get to sometimes go to TIFF. And so Chloe and Jesse are in the room, and Chloe leads everybody through guided breathing before we watch the movie. And we hear about like how they filmed this movie with everybody doing like dream journals and all this esoteric Chloe Zhao connect to the earth and connect to your subconscious shit. And they cue up all that before the movie. And I'm like, what the hell? And then you watch the performance and it's so naturalistic. And yes, it is a bit showy because obviously that much grief and pain. But again, I was like, okay, like I'm kind of vibing with this movie, but like I'm a little bit off put by it.
And then
the last act happens, the last half hour, and when she reaches out her hand and like I just like lost my breath and I was like okay, yeah, like it's done. Book it. Jessie Buckley wins. It's over. Marcelo, I know that you love this movie, and I'm assuming this performance is a big reason why.
yes, first of all, I just have to say this: Penny Lane. Oh, I love Penny Lane. You know, I, in a surprise to no one, will give this hands down to Jessie Buckley because her performance throughout the film was just unassumingly beautiful. But the but but the thing that really connected me, the thing that really connected me with her as a character throughout the course of the film, she's known to be very spiritual. She has this connection with the universe and trees and nature, and like I didn't really know what Chloe Zhao and she were. I was very confused to see what they were going to do with that, but what they do with that and the direction that they take it is absolutely beautiful. And there is one moment in the movie where Jessie Buckley just lets it rip, and it is the most awful, heartbreaking, beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'm like, I can't move, I can't breathe, I want to cry, I want to give this woman a hug, I don't know what I want to do, but this is beautiful. And yeah, like that sold it for me. On top of the fact that I thought the script was a home run, direction was a home run, and this performance is indeed a home run. So that is my choice.
And this is going to go down as one of these weird phenomenons that happens where Jessie Buckley is going to win an Oscar while Jessie Buckley is in the worst movie you've seen in 5 years in movie theaters right now. So like it's like the classic, you know, somehow it just happens to people where I love Jessie Buckley. I love Jessie Buckley in Hamnet. The Bride is the most incomprehensible piece of shit that I have seen in a long time. Even like some of the worst movies I've seen are at least some enjoyment, but this was like such a misfire, and it's just crazy that she's gonna win an Oscar while being in the worst, what will end up being the worst movie of 2026, which is wild. And that does happen to people. It's like Eddie Murphy lost the Oscar, but it was just he was nominated. Dreamgirls was coming out, and then he did Norbit, and it's like, oh, dude, no, sorry, we're not doing that. We're not doing that for you. You did Norbit. Luckily, The Bride dropped after voting closed. Thank goodness, because Jessie Buckley deserves it for Hamnet, and she's gonna get it.
Yeah.
Now we'll do the last category here. We will do Best Picture, which of course does have 10 nominees. They are Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. Marcelo, I think you already told us what you want to win, but just go for it.
Yeah. I listen. But before I get to my choice, I just want to highlight a couple of things. One Battle, great. Frankenstein, wonderful. Sentimental Value, wonderful character piece. I really, really enjoyed that movie. But again, as I've been saying for almost an hour now, I saw one movie this Oscar season that really connected with me more than any of the other ones, and that is, you guessed it, Hamnet. Like this movie is an exercise in joy, grief, and then getting over your grief and figuring out how to move on. And to me, that is the type of movie that is just made for the Oscars because they love that shit. They
Yeah.
they love movies that talk about the human experience and also that have something to say about the human experience. And I think that is Hamnet is a type of movie that sticks with you, and Hamnet is the type of movie that you think about long after you've seen it. And for me, I think um overall, I think either Sinners is going to get it or One Battle. But my choice to get it, and I understand that this is a long shot considering that Sinners is on the wave right now and One Battle is right on its coattails, I think. But Hamnet would be a wonderful win for me, and if it were to get it, I would be overjoyed.
Yeah, I think for me, my pick is, and the way that they do this is you do a preferential ballot where you rank all the movies in order from 1 to 10. And if I'm doing that, I go number 1, One Battle After Another, number 2, Sinners, number 3, Hamnet, number 4, Train Dreams, which like I just absolutely adored. Number 5, Marty Supreme, number 6, Frankenstein, number 7, Sentimental Value, number 8, F1, number 9, Begonia, and number 10, The Secret Agent. That honestly, now that I've that was the last movie I had to watch, and I know that they love to get some foreign films in there, but this year it was Just an Accident, the Jafar Panahi movie that I thought was quite a bit stronger than The Secret Agent, and Park Chan Wook's No Other Choice that I absolutely loved, and it didn't get in for Best Picture, or it got snubbed basically across the board. So I would have subbed that in, but I think in every precursor leading up to this, it's been One Battle or Hamnet got the Golden Globe because they were in different categories. But the Sinners wave is cresting, and I think Sinners might win, but it would literally be the first time all season that One Battle didn't win. And then my other thing is never discount Steven Spielberg. And if Hamnet were to win, the people who get the award for Hamnet are Spielberg, Sam Mendes, and a handful of other producers. So two heavy hitters, right? But I still think it's One Battle or Sinners, but I won't be upset if Hamnet somehow sneaks in there. If it's anything other than those three, I'm gonna be stunned. And especially I don't think there's a dark horse that's coming up, because it seems like Marty Supreme is gonna blank. Not enough people have seen Train Dreams. Frankenstein has been very polarizing, where there are people like me who just love it and other people who just find it insufferable. And then F1 is another one where it was the nomination was the recognition, and it was also they wanted to get something in there, and it's just really weird that that was the big blockbuster one. Like I loved F1; it
Yeah.
was a good time, but it was just a reskin Top Gun Maverick, right? It was Top Gun Maverick
Yeah.
with cars instead of planes,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
it was fun.
yeah. I mean, listen, there are two movies. There are two movies nominated for Oscars that I just don't understand why. One is F1. It was great. It was fun, but it just didn't fit the bill of an Oscar movie for me. And the other one, which is you already said, is The Secret Agent. I didn't get it. I did not get that at all. So I would have replaced that with other movies. But let me ask you this. You're pretty set on the fact that it's going to be Sinners, right, for you, right?
Well, right now, like if I still was betting, I would say One Battle, but I just think that Sinners, if it's a Sinners sweep, like we're gonna know halfway through the night, and then I feel that somehow One Battle fumbled the bag at the end.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think that there is a chance that the Academy won't give it to Sinners because Sinners, half of Sinners is this dramatic character piece highlighting all different races and cultures, and the other half of Sinners is a vampire movie. Now, the Academy has been notorious for not awarding those type of movies the prestigious honor of best pictures unless you're like a Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Do you think that the Academy might leave Sinners out because of its unsteady genre in my eyes?
Well, the I would that is like a concern that they often rail against genre pictures, or they get cold feet about awarding genre pictures. But the only thing that makes Sinners different is that the vampires are a metaphor that are tied deeply into the themes of race, cultural appropriation, and all of that other stuff that go to the core of what the movie is about. So
Right.
it's not like this is we're shifting into vampires just for shits and giggles. It's still like the fact that they suck your blood and take your essence, um, is deeply woven into the fabric of what the movie is about. So that's the only reason why I don't think that it's going to get held against it. But it's also the reason why I still think it's going to be One Battle, because at the end of the day, there are going to be, you know, the Academy's membership has changed a lot over the last few years. The international contingent has gone way up, which is why we see things like Parasite and all these nominations for The Secret Agent, because there's a much more international body. But there are still a ton of old dudes named Mel who like are just watching the first half hour of stuff and deciding if they like it or not, and this might not be their kind of movie. Um, but then the only other thing is that One Battle After Another really goes after some of those old white guys who are sitting in their castle and says like, "Hey, you guys are a bunch of dumb fucks," right? So
Yeah.
like, I don't know if they're gonna pick up on that. Um, but also, I do think it's interesting that this year the Academy is basically demanding receipts to prove that you've watched all the movies.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people who have to abstain, in certain categories, or don't want to vote for stuff they haven't seen. So their preferential ballot might only be 4 movies out of 10. Um, and that could skew the results in a weird way. I do think that the movies that are probably the most seen are going to be, ironically, F1, because a lot of people, would have seen it. And then the heavy hitters, Hamnet, One Battle, Sinners, a lot of those smaller titles, I don't think some of the busy members would have sought out. And
Yeah.
again, Frankenstein and Train Dreams on Netflix, a lot of people just can't be bothered to load those up and watch them.
Yeah, you mentioned that that some of the Academy voters just watch like the first 30 minutes of the movie, and then they just say, "Hey, I give it to this one because I liked the first 30 minutes." And you mentioned that Academy voters this year had to prove that they actually watched the movie. Like, how do they actually do that? Like, is it like a how do they do that?
So I think there is like an Academy portal where you can watch stuff and they can tell if you've finished watching stuff.
Oh,
But
okay.
I don't know that they'll be able to tell if you just skip to the end. And when Academy members would go to screenings, they could sign in and then get credit for having been at the screening and seeing the movie. And I
Mhm.
know that there's like other ways that they can do it. And some people have talked about like assistants have been paid to do this so that like the guy who doesn't want to watch all this stuff can still vote for his buddy's movie because he got his assistant to do it. So it's not a flawless system. But then there are people out there like Kirsten Dunst to like make sure that they're watching everything and are serious about it. And that's the kind of person, like I said, the last movie I had to see was Secret Agent, and I just saw it today because everything else nominated for any of the major categories we've talked about today, I've seen everything
Mhm.
else, right? And like I would have, I would have felt incomplete if I didn't see everything. So
Yeah.
hopefully there are a lot of Academy members who feel the same way.
Yeah, just as we wrap up here, are there any more surprises that could happen in the ceremony that would make you like go, holy shit, this might not end the way I think it's going to end.
I think if we just start to see like an everything everywhere all at once style like wave start to happen, where then you're just going to be like, okay. And so if it tilts one battle, then we'll be like, oh, okay, Sinners actually crested too late. But if it starts just being Sinners, 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 then it's like they timed it just right, and then who knows where it goes. And personally, I think if they are going to do that, I still have just fingers crossed we split picture and director because I really think it's Paul Thomas Anderson's time. And even if we're going to give Sinners Best Picture, let's give let's give PTA the directing award. Um, I do think him and Coogler are both going to win respective screenplays. So, like, they're both going to be on stage. But some years, the Academy just goes script, director, picture, like Honora style. And then some years they split those up. So I don't know what we're in for because the precursors have been more exciting than normal because literally front runners have fallen off where like Chalamet was a lock for a long time and now he's a long shot. And so it's like, let's see what happens. I'm excited for this Sunday and I hope that there are a few genuine surprises where maybe one or two of these front runners falls off and like the underdog that we're rooting for does actually win.
Yeah, look, I'm very, very excited about the Sunday. I actually think um Chalamet, despite his idiotic press things that he's been doing lately, I think that Chalamet is still in there, and I think that his chances are still reasonably okay. So if that happens, if that doesn't happen, I'll be very, very shocked. The other thing that I'll be very, very shocked with, although the other thing that I'll be okay with, I'll be disappointed, but I'll be okay. If PTA takes it away from Chloe Zhao, I'll be like, okay, all right, you earned that. You are PTA. I'll give it to you. Yeah. No.
Either way, I think we're in for a fun time, and I'm looking forward to the red carpet pre-show, and then tuning into the actual show, which starts at 7 p.m. this
Yep.
year. So like some people might be tuning in at 8, expecting like the
Yep.
the traditional start. No, 7 p.m. So make sure you're tuning in at the right time.
Um, just real quick, one last thing before we wrap this up. What are your thoughts on Conan? Do you like him as an Oscar host, or or did you want somebody else?
I love Conan, so
Okay,
I I'm a big fan of him on his own. But what I really liked is that knowing Conan from his late night show and his podcast, Conan loves movies. So he gets excited about guys like Ryan Coogler and Paul Thomas Anderson and Chloe Zhao because he loves their work. So I think it makes a huge difference when the person who is poking fun at and making these jokes at the expense of the room also loves the art form and loves the people who make these movies, because when somebody is up on stage and they're like, "Oh my God, Killers of the Flower Moon, 18 hours long. Can you believe it?" Well, fuck you. That's a great movie that happens to be long. So
Yeah.
let's not take like those pot shots unless they're loving. And I do think that, like I said, Conan is a cinephile. He's a guy who loves these movies like we do. And last year, I really felt that love, even when he was making fun of things. You could tell he was happy to be there. He was happy to be in the presence of these people. And I think he brings that infectious joy and the self-deprecation of, him looking like Tilda Swinton or whatnot. So like, now that he has settled in after last year, like I think that this year is going to be even better, and I'm really looking forward to see what he does.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Conan last year. I mean, I like Conan much better than Jimmy Kimmel. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel at all. So I think that he'll be a great Oscar host, and I think he'll do a wonderful job, and he'll keep the show under 3 hours. I hope. Probably not,
Oh,
but,
and again, we'll see. This is one of the ones where they're going to have to still really manage the time because it's on network. And in a few years, when we're doing YouTube, maybe we'll see that fall by the wayside, and I'm excited for those days too.
yeah. I mean, those days will be really interesting because um, they won't have time limits or restrictions. That actually reminded me. How excited are you about the Oscars having a new category? I know I keep saying we're almost done, but I got one more question for you. How excited are you about having best achievement in casting for the first time this year? Do you like that? Are you excited about that?
Sort of. And here's
Sort of.
why.
Okay.
I'm glad that they're adding categories. Like I think this was long overdue, and I can't wait until they finally get stunts onto the show, right? But we don't know how they're going to award this award. Whether it's just going to be, if there's a Sinners wave and like they just give it to the most popular movie or the movie with the most casting. Um, the nominees this year are all the like heavy hitters. And so it'll be interesting to see, if One Battle or Sinners or whatnot wins. But my hope for this category going forward is that if you have a movie like a Weapons, that like everybody is perfect in their role, even if it's not a movie that's going to be nominated for Best Picture, it could be a casting award winner. But that kind of isn't how the cards fell this year. So we'll have to wait and see like how they award it, like who wins the inaugural one, to see if they're just voting for the movie or if they are actually like looking at like the bit parts and all of the things to see, how the winners shake down. But I think it's a category that has lots of potential for. There are movies that have impeccable casts but are not Oscar movies, and if they start cropping up as nominees, I think that's going to be more interesting.
I'm so glad you said that because now that this award exists, in the future we could see movies that generally from the Oscars don't get that much attention. Like, would you imagine an Oscar nomination via casting for Avengers: Secret Wars, because we're gonna have the whole world in that movie?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Immediately, like something I'm thinking is like, yeah, something like Avengers next year, Dune Part 3. These are the
right.
ones where, like, especially with the additions to the Dune cast, where you're just going to look and you're going to be like, yeah, the casting in this movie is impeccable. And even if the movie doesn't end up being a Best Picture nominee, like maybe we can get something in there. But again, only time will tell. And it's so new that we just don't know how the voting for that category is going to go.
Right. With that, folks, I think that brings an end to our Oscar prediction video for 2026. Uh, in the comments below, before we go, tell us what you think is going to win. What are your picks? What are you looking forward to? And are you excited for the show like we are? But as I go, Matt, if the good folks at home want to find you on the interwebs, where can they do that?
We can log some movies on letterboxd.com. My username is MDC3000.
And guys, if you want to catch me on the interwebs, I have a lot of podcasts, but the one that I'm going to focus on today is a podcast called Radio 5 that I host with this wonderful gentleman here. It's a podcast talking about the writer-director himself, J.J. Abrams, in his greater Bad Robot universe. That podcast can be found on all podcast services, and we also do have a YouTube channel here on YouTube. I will leave a link to that channel in my comment section below. But if you also want to chat with me about movies, you can reach me on Letterboxd. I'm at CrickFanatic88. But thank you so much for watching my video, and as I say often, I'll see you when I see you.
So much happened here, and so much is about to.